What's going on, everybody? It's Omar again with Bay Area Property Exchange, licensed realtor out of Tampa, Florida. So, I kind of wanted to go over a few things today. One of the things I get told a lot from clients when they first start looking for a house is, I don't want a homeowners association. And I just wanted to kind of go over some of the pros and cons of being in an HOA. I myself personally live in an HOA. I've lived in two different ones, and I have no problem with them, honestly. So I just wanted to kind of go over this, and so you can make an informative decision as to whether or not you should or shouldn't live in one. So first things first, let's go over this. What is an HOA? Well, an HOA is a homeowners association. It's a corporation responsible for the operation of a community or mobile home subdivision in which the voting membership is made up of parcel owners, and membership in the HOA is a mandatory condition of parcel ownership. So in other words, if you own a house there, you have to join it. But you are a member of it. You do have a voice. The HOA will typically have meetings where they can address concerns. So think of it as kind of your own mini government. You all have a say so in what happens in the home in the HOA. Now, typically they have a board of a director with like a president, a vice president, and some other chair people. I've been to a few of the HOA meetings, but when you want to know what's going on in your HOA, go ahead and go to the meetings. It's also a great way to meet some of your neighbors there. So that is essentially what an HOA is. So why are they so hated? Well, honestly, I think it's many times because people don't understand what an HOA is. There's always going to be some bad examples, and there are some that are run poorly by the president, vice president, and board of directors for the HOA. But I think for the most part, most HOAs are run fairly well. But they a lot of times get a bad rep because some HOAs do things, and some people are very strict. You have to think about it. These are people that live in that neighborhood, and the governing body of that neighborhood, which is homeowners that live in that neighborhood, they want their neighborhood to look a certain way. So a lot of times it stems from, hey, we're very strict because we want our house to look good. We want the neighborhood we drive through to look good. So if you're okay with that and you want your neighborhood to look just as good, then perhaps, it's not a bad thing for you. All right, so next. What is the main purpose of an HOA? I kind of alluded to it, but the HOA's main purpose is to protect property values in a certain neighborhood and to enforce the covenants and bylaws of the established neighborhood. So just to kind of give you an example, right? Whenever you are in an HOA, when it's established, they will have covenants and bylaws. And what that is it's a set of rules saying, hey, you're going to abide by this. And so when you abide by those rules, it could be colors of the property. It could be the type of grass that you have, the type of fencing that you may have. It could be what you may or may not do there, such as owning a boat. You may not be able to own a boat and have, a huge 20-foot boat in your front yard. So there's different rules on there, and you just want to make sure you study and find out what the rules are in that HOA before you just go and join it, okay? All right, so what are the pros? Well, let's take a look and see here. If someone is or is not doing something that detracts from your house, you can make a complaint. So for instance, I personally had someone that I know. They're trying to sell their house. They live in an HOA community. They're trying to sell their house. Everything from their neighbor's house looks totally fine, right? Everything looks great. However, in their neighbor's backyard, there were some issues, and they had potential buyers coming into their house, and they got several reports like, hey, I can see into my neighbor's backyard, and they have these certain things in there, and it looks real trashy back there, and I don't want to be looking from, my bedroom window into their backyard and seeing that. Now, you might be saying, That's none of their business. Well, it is and it isn't, because it's taking away from the marketability of their house. Well, if it's something that they're doing in their backyard that violates those covenant and bylaws, you are able to make a complaint and say, hey, now obviously, being a good neighbor, you would want to go to your neighbor first. But let's say your neighbor doesn't do it. Now you're stuck with the house that people are saying, hey, I don't like this neighbor. You can then go to your management company and they can then start assessing, hey, did this person violate our covenant bylaws? And at that point in time, they are able to start putting assessments on their property and kind of forcing them to clean up what is messed up. So that is a pro for you if you're trying to sell your house and you have a complaint against your neighbor and they're just not doing anything, but it can be a con if you're that neighbor. Moral of the story, be a good neighbor. Okay? So what's another pro? Well, typically a lot of HOAs have amenities, right? So typically the higher the HOA fee, the more that is offered. So for instance, you can have, I've seen HOAs that have, I mean, literally it's like you're at a hotel, and I'm talking about not a hotel, a resort. You can have some resort style amenities. You can have things like Olympic sized swimming pools on top of other swimming pools, splash pads, kid playgrounds, dog parks, regular parks, tennis courts, basketball courts, volleyball courts, all types of courts. They can have a indoor game room inside the clubhouse. They can have a pool room. They can have a media room. I mean, there are some HOAs that are just phenomenal with the amenities that they offer. So that is certainly a pro. Some HOAs also, honestly, I've seen HOAs that include water. I've seen some that include trash. I've seen some that include sewage. I've seen some that include cable. Also insurance on the exterior of your house. So, we have a hurricane that's coming through right now, Hurricane Dorian. And let's say something, God forbid, were to happen in an HOA community and it tore off parts of your roof. Well, the HOA actually has an insurance on there because they want uniformity of the whole entire neighborhood. That let's say if something were to happen and some of the shingles on your roof came off, the HOA replaces it, not you. So you're paying for that monthly as part of your HOA dues. Typically that's in townhouses and condos and villas, but there are some single family residences that do include that. So that's not necessarily a bad thing if it includes maintenance of your roof. And that's a huge factor. That can be a few $1,000s to replace a roof. And if your HOA is going to do that, that's awesome. And sometimes there's even some electricity that I've seen. Some HOAs do include electricity. Sorry, I'm going to try to speed through this a little bit, because there's a lot of information. I'm going to make a second part to this, kind of comparing some neighborhoods directly. So your property value and your marketability of yours and your neighbors' homes are protected. Typically, the HOA hires a management company, and it's their job to kind of go around the neighborhood and, look and see what infractions are. Anything that's an eyesore. I will kind of give you an example of this. Actually, let me give you an example of it right now. Alright, so I'm putting in a copy of my HOA violation, but so you can see what's an example of it. So if you can see, here's my front yard. I have some weeds there, and we have to have St. Augustine grass, but I just have to replace this amount. That's what the infraction cited. It didn't see this one right here, but I'm going to go ahead and replace it since I'm going to be outside sweating anyway. So they actually didn't catch these palm tree leaves here either. Got to replace those as well. But I will put a copy of the actual infraction. It's not that bad. They didn't charge me any money, so that's a good thing. Alright, so here's a copy of the notification I got saying that I was out of compliance. As you can see, it gives me 7 days, and they'll give me a second notification also. I've gotten one of these before. And honestly, the HOA was pretty cool about it. They even gave me an additional 30 days after the second violation. So it wasn't really all that bad. Again, it's not a big deal. The cost to replace it, it's like about $1.50 per square foot. I have about 30 square feet of sod I need to redo, $45. Honestly, I have to do that maybe once a year, replace one part of my grass. So to me it's cheaper than purchasing one of those you know, true green lawns. I'll just replace the grass myself and then water it. Um, just my opinion. You can do whichever you